Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 148. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I am Sean Whalen, Dr. Norge on the Comics Forums, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. Oh my God, they killed Bleep, you bastards! So says the sensei of the Whatnot Segulin and the Duke of You-Know. How's it going, eh? I was going to say who it was, but just in case someone's listening and they don't check the show notes first, I figured we would announce that on this episode, Jim and I are going to be discussing Final Crisis number 6, and in the Speeding Bullets segment, we're going to be discussing the Great Legion episode that just aired this week from Smallville with Jeff Johns. We got a big Smallville episode that's planned down the road, but we wanted to make sure to just kind of keep up with some quick little general discussions on Smallville because this season's been really outstanding and we wanted to discuss it. We also discussed where we'd like to see Smallville go and what we'd like to see with the Superman movie franchise, because that's kind of up in the air at the moment, so we thought it'd be kind of a fun little discussion to have. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network and the League of Comic Book Podcasts. We are going to be at the New York Comic Con, which is February 6th to the 8th, 2009. The New York Comic Con is the East Coast's biggest and most exciting pop culture convention. The show floor plays host to the latest and greatest in comics, graphic novels, anime, manga, video games, toys, movies, and television. New York Comic Con is the second largest pop culture convention in America and the only one that takes place in the comic book, publishing, media, and licensing capital of the world. Special guests for the New York Comic Con 2009 include Adam and Andy Kubert, Brian Michael Bendis, Bruce Timm, Carmen Infantino, Jeff Johns, George Perez, Grant Morrison, J. Michael Straczynski, Jim Lee, Matt Fraction, Neil Adams, and more. Friday, February 6th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. is professional hours only. It's open to the public from Friday, February 6th, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday, February 7th, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., Sunday, February 8th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and the attendee tickets are weekend pass is $50, Friday pass is $30, Saturday pass is $40, and Sunday pass is $30, and we will be, because they're sponsoring us, in the podcast arena. Da, 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 da. Please come by and see us. We're going to have our microphone set up, and we're going to be recording the whole weekend. So if there's something you want to shout out, if you're a creator and you got your own book and you want to shout out and you want to just chat with us, stop by. Definitely email us if you're going to be there ahead of time beforehand and there's something special you want to talk about, because if we know ahead of time, we can prepare something. Otherwise, if you want to come and just do it off the cuff, show up, and we'd love to have you there. Listeners, we definitely want to get you on the show, especially reactions to anything going on at the con, current books you're enjoying, things like that. So our plan is really to be basically up and recording the entire time, and hopefully my goal is to release shows from the con. So we'll see how that works. So basically episode 151, that whole weekend, is going to be New York Comic Con stuff in multi-part. I think I'm going to release multi-part small episodes, if it works.
If it works. That's the key.
If. So I'm going to be excited to do that. Our sponsor for this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. DC, Library Roots of the Swamp Thing. This is that library series that they've been releasing of those prestige, like hardcover-looking volumes. Written by Len Wein, art by Bernie Wrightson and Nestor Redondo, with a cover by Bernie Wrightson. The tales that made the Swamp Thing a fan favorite are collected in hardcover for the first time, featuring the first appearance from House of Secrets number 92, along with Swamp Thing number 1 to 13, and featuring moody art by the legendary artist Bernie Wrightson. It's 320 pages, regularly $39.99, 50% off only $19.99. Green Lantern Chronicles Trade Paperback Volume 1, and this is going to be issues Showcase 22 to 24, and Green Lantern 1 to 3. Are you collecting any of these Chronicles books, like the Batman and Superman ones?
Yeah, I didn't really get any of those, and every time I see that, I'm like, I want to pick that up, and I don't know, for some reason I don't go through and click the button, even though some of it seems interesting, and this was one where I looked at it and I was like, I don't know, oh yeah, sure, why not, click.
Well, and it's chronologically releasing the exact order of Hal's adventures, so I've gotten the Batman and Superman ones. Those take place more in the Golden Age, though. This is from the Silver Age. So it's a completely different era than we've previously seen in the Chronicles volumes. But it's regularly $14.99, 50% off only $7.49. So for Hal fans, this is... anybody who's saying, hey, I'm just getting on Hal now with Rebirth and all that, this is your chance to kind of go back and see them in color. I got the Showcase volumes, but the advantage of this is color.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but I got the Showcase volume. Do I really need this? And I'm like, in color, $7.49? All right, consider that. So I'm grabbing it too. I do like those collected volumes, though, of so I'll probably end up selling my Showcase volume and then just collect the Hal books. I got first 2 showcase volumes? Or there might be even 3. I'll probably sell those and then just start following this line, because to me, if I have the option to get them chronologically in color, I would rather have them in color. So I'll actually sell those to partially finance this. Whatever your shipping preferences, your bag and boarding preferences, dcbservice.com accommodates your collecting needs. Don't forget our in-stock trades book of the month for Mike Sims, Flash Rogues, written by Jeff Johns, art by Scott Collins and Brian Boland. Keystone City is on the brink of destruction again. Only the Flash can save it. Collecting 177 to 181. Can he handle Captain Cold and the Mirror Master as well? Throw in the Plunderer, Gorilla Grodd, and the Pied Piper. It's a recipe for disaster. That's another one, regularly $14.99, 47% off, only $7.94 because they're supporting us, so we really appreciate that. Episode 150 is going to be the epic Absolute Batman Long Halloween. Well, just Long Halloween. So whether you collect the trade or the Absolute, it's $75 regularly, 37% off, only $47.25. And the trade paperback is $19.95 regularly, 37% off, $12.57. So InStockTrades.com offers free shipping on orders of $50 or more and has a ton of collected editions in stock and ready to ship. Thanks for supporting us, DCBService.com and InStock Trades. We've got a lot of stuff planned over the next few weeks.
I know. We got some big stuff coming, too.
Jim, what kind of a podcast are we?
Well, Sean, we are a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're reviewing. So if we're going over something you haven't read, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Jim, why don't we start off real quick with just a quick Speeding Bullets segment on Smallville, and then we'll go ahead and jump into...
Hold on.
Okay.
Before we start and jump into all that, there's something else we have to do.
What's that?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dr. Norge. Happy birthday to you. No, it's not his birthday today, but it will be the day after this is released. So y'all swing by the forums. Wish Dr. Norge a happy birthday.
Thanks for the swinging song stylings of the
problem.
sensei. Actually, I will shout out now your birthday cards. He got me this Superman, and it actually goes beyond that. He got me this great Superman birthday card that has one of those, electronic music boxes inside it. But it went on. It goes all the way into the opening of the song and all that. But then you got me these really cool Hawkman. You got a Hawkman and 2 Thanagarian action figures, which are really cool from the Mattel line, the DC Crisis line. So and the sculpt on that is awesome.
Yeah, that's a really cool looking one.
So thank you very much for the gift. I was surprised. I didn't expect it. Came into our recording studio. Now my chair is his gift. I'm like, wow, cool.
Holy caffeine!
Jim, I figured just casually we could talk about the Legion episode of Smallville that aired this week. It was one you literally just watched it before we recorded. I really liked it. At first, I got to be honest with you, the first when I started watching the episode and they introduced the Legion for the first time, when they were talking about killing and all, I'm like, oh no, what are they doing? And I'm like, wait, Jeff Johns wrote this. What's going on here? But what it was is it really was a foundation piece showing how their first meeting with Cal, how much it influenced the future. Because it was that first meeting that led to the whole code that the Legion doesn't kill. And I really liked that it was Cal's inspiration. They walked in and right away the first thing was, I'm like, is this really Cal? Is this the guy that we have looked up to, that the legends, is he more legend than anything else? And it was an interesting commentary on the fact that many years into the future, 3009, that there would be that question mark on, is this the guy that we thought he was? I really enjoyed that was the whole lead into the whole thing.
Yeah, dude, that was kind of a cool thing for me. I was sitting there because I'm now, really getting Legion happy with stuff going on, Legion of 3 Worlds. So I was like really excited when they first popped in there. Saturn Girl was talking, and I was like, oh man, okay, I can understand why they did that because you don't want just her using the mind communication. So I'm like, oh, okay, I can let that go. And I really liked how they Smallvilleized their uniforms. They didn't look like, the regular Legion Legion.
But they were still identifiable as
right.
they are. Right.
And they still had, the different markings on them that would make them, Saturn Girl, would make, Lightning Lass and Cosmic Boy and all that. It would, you could still see who they were. So I like that. And then they went into that killing thing. And I was just like, oh, wait, what? Oh, yeah, hold on. And I'm thinking, okay.
Well, it was killing to protect the future, so that was their whole idea. But I liked that it was this moment that...
Yeah, I know, and they create rule number 1. And I was just like, yeah, and then even just the whole thing, there's always another way. And I was just like cheering, because yeah, we work together, use the powers, and it's just, it's the Legion stuff. Legion always finds a way.
I really liked Lana.
Oh, dude, man, when she first left, I was like, oh, okay, now she's back. I'm like, dang, I don't want her to leave. I like this. Mm-hmm. And that was the cool thing, because even when Clark was doubting himself, can he save Chloe and the world at the same time? Maybe he will have to make the choice. She's like, the Clark I know would know in his heart, would never doubt himself and know that he can save Chloe and the world. I'm like, yes!
I needed that. I needed to see again why he even fell in love with her, because there's episodes of that show where Lana is almost unlikable.
Yeah.
And there's other episodes where it's like this, where it's like you can totally understand why he would be madly in love with her. And this was one of those moments where I could see why there would still be something there with him, why he would still, have those feelings, and why she would have feelings for him. And it is a great thing about her knowing his secret now. You get to see a little bit of that development into it. Chloe knowing the secret again was, to me, a highlight as well.
Yeah, I was so glad. And I loved how they teased that maybe Chloe would die, because they're like, we don't know a Chloe. We know Lois Lane, we know Jimmy Olsen, but we've never heard of Chloe Sullivan. And I was like, oh.
But they knew about the ISIS Foundation.
Yes. And they knew as Lana Lang has founded it. And she worked it. So there's even more evidence that Chloe ain't going to survive the series. And I'm like, oh, man, I wonder. And I'm wondering how they're going to do it, what they're going to do.
No, but they did explain, though, that there were things throughout history that would have dropped off.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible that Chloe does survive the series. It's just that their records don't show her.
Yeah, part of me wants Chloe to be somebody else. Like Chloe adopts another identity that's in Clark's life, or adopts another hero. And of course, I'm getting to Oracle. I'm still holding on to the fact that I want Chloe to be Oracle. Sorry,
but Oracle isn't. I guess Oracle's whole MO with Barbara having transitioned into being Oracle. Why would Chloe have to be? To me, it's a completely different identity. I think Chloe stands alone on her own.
Yeah, but it just
I don't need her to have
an explanation as to why they don't know who she is. Yeah, that's just I know I'm reaching. I know it'll never happen, but still part of me wants that. I don't know.
To me, she's too strong a character to say that to. Then you're dismissing the importance of her role in Smallville. And I think I just happen to think that she's a very well developed, probably one of my favorite characters on the show is Chloe. And I think it's because they've developed her so well and she's so interesting. I think that's why people are screaming for her to appear in the comics periodically, is because, this is a character that I think has been so well-rounded and so well-developed. I guess I don't want it to be dismissed as she wound up being somebody else. I think I would like to see her character be defined enough. She could be carried over.
Well, I agree with you. She could definitely be carried over. I'm just like, I don't know how they're going to do it. That's my concern. So I'm like throwing out ideas on how they could do it.
The future, do you take the future as set in stone?
No,
I don't.
It's never as set in stone, especially when that's the whole thing with the time coming back in time and all that stuff.
So couldn't time change where all of a sudden Chloe maybe was supposed to die and she didn't, and it opens up
could open up stuff.
A whole new avenue for them? Yeah. I guess I don't take it as because the Legion don't know her that means that she has to go.
Right, and they even said how there's a lot of lost records and whatnot, and we're talking a little bit of time has gone into
and the future did change here.
Yeah.
Because the way Brainiac was stopped was changed. Their records show Brainiac being stopped by Clark using the crystal. That is not how it happened.
Yeah.
On that date. So the future changed in this episode. So why does that have to be the only place where it changed? To me, that added more strength to the fact that they don't necessarily know everything, and nor do they need to.
Now, how fun though was Garth in this?
Oh, yeah.
I was dying with just everything. Where's the tights? Where's the cape? No glasses? Are we sure we got the right guy? And I ate it up. I was cracking up, and he's like, oh, you may know him as Clark Kent now, but in this soon, you'll be known as... Garth.
Yeah, Rock was great. I really enjoyed him. He felt like the classic Cosmic Boy, where he was the leader at that point, and Lightning Lad hadn't quite taken that step to being the man that we saw eventually be one of the leaders of the Legion as well. So I really enjoyed that whole aspect and seeing the Legion Trinity here in this episode.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that did you see there's a possibility there might be another Smallville season?
Yeah, I was like kind of surprised. And I'm not mad, upset, or anything. I'm glad because I'm enjoying it. If they can get the people to sign back on, then let's do it.
Dude, I want to see more Legion episodes with them.
Dude, I want to see Clark go to the future.
I do too.
I so want to see him put on that, and I also want to see him fly. I don't care what they say. Oh, no flights, no tights.
Well, you got to remember, hold on.
I want to see
the no
Clark
flights, no
Kent.
tights in Smallville. Let's talk about that real quick. The no flights, no tights in Smallville was kicked off originally when they had a finite plan for this series, and they clearly did not expect it to go as far as it has. So I guess at this point in time, why couldn't they?
I agree. I think we need to see Clark at least fly, if not put on the costume. I want to see that. I do want to see him in the future. I think it'd be kind of neat seeing him deal with the other Legionnaires, meet some of the other Legionnaires, run into Brainiac 5. Like to see how because that was a cool thing when they had the components left of Brainiac. Like, well, let's hope Brainiac 5 is a little bit more agreeable. And I kind of laughed because we know he's not.
Oh, yeah. But I also like the fact, though, that we saw like an origin of sorts of Brainiac 5. So I don't mind if they do kind of like a little Smallville mix to it, and it worked out well. The episode was really sharp. We're going to we have a Smallville episode that we're going to have at some point in time coming up with our good friend Art Lyon. It's just been one of those things we haven't been able to coordinate it, and we'll get to that point. We'll probably have him on sooner, or not probably, we'll definitely have him on sooner for his Brave and the Bold work. Because he's done. If anybody hasn't seen this, I can't shout out and praise enough his coloring work on Brave and the Bold number 20. It's part of that Green Lantern Phantom Stranger arc that you're reading. Ooh,
yeah.
He really. I mean, he seems to just every time I see him kick it up a notch. But the magical, otherworldly feel of that whole issue to me is just stunning. I'm going to save a lot of my comments until we talk to Art about it because I want to ask him what he did to achieve some of the things that he did in that particular issue. But it was December's issue of Brave and the Bold he did, and he's going to be doing 20, 21, and 22. Of Brave and the Bold. So that 3 issue. So please support our good friend Art Lyon by picking up those issues of Brave and the Bold. We will be having him on to talk about them. So kind of a fun one.
So what do you think is going to happen with Doomsday now? Because that final scene was Doomsday full mode. He had been sitting in his incubation chamber, and he's ready to rock now. So any of the nice guy is now gone. He's just.
Do you think it's gone?
I think so.
Or do you think Chloe can? Do you think Chloe can still reach him?
Maybe Chloe can, because I had a bunch of different ideas going through my head, like this, that he's not at full strength yet, and this is where he gets buried. When Doomsday comes out in the comic book, he was buried and trapped, and this is where he gets buried and trapped. This is how he gets put into underground and being held. And as you know, whenever you defeat Doomsday, he gets stronger, more powerful the next time. So, maybe this is where he gets in the spot where he can actually get more powerful and become something. I don't know.
I took it that the incubation chamber was what got him more powerful. So I think we've got that more powerful Doomsday right now, and we're going to gradually see him lead into. Do you take it that the human side's gone?
See, here's the thing. She said when Chloe was evil, and I loved Chloe as evil Chloe, by the way. I thought she did a really cool job of you can tell the actress had fun being evil. Yeah. She had fun being evil, and that was a really cool job on her part. But when she was sitting there talking to him, saying he had to sit in there for 14 days. 14 days did not pass. So he didn't do full incubation.
How do you know it didn't?
In the chamber. Because it doesn't take Clark 14 days to fly up to the fortress or fly back, and it didn't take Brainiac 14 days to fly down from the fortress to the planet.
Okay.
And, that was maybe 1 day.
So you're taking that the full incubation didn't complete.
Right. I'm saying the full incubation didn't complete.
Okay.
So there's still some of the thing, and that maybe Chloe could reach him, and maybe when he comes back.
I was more convinced of the full until I talked to you. Now you've got me convinced that it didn't complete. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know when they defeated Brainiac, maybe because we saw everybody else, jump back to normal, and we saw him snap awake while in the chamber. And the next scene,
and you're taking the incubation incomplete because Brainiac's influence is out of the fortress, so the incubation couldn't complete.
Right.
Okay. Do you think Jor-El's gone, or do you think Jor-El's back now?
Oh, I think Jor-El's not gone. Jor-El's back, and Clark will find a way to get access to him again. And that's too strong of a thing not to have.
I agree.
Jor-El in the mix. So yeah,
that's interesting. That's a good point. Brainiac being taken away, the influence taken away, would have shortened that. Wow. I did like at the end where they said to him, because they couldn't tell him why. Be careful in the days ahead. Clearly leading to the foreboding of Doomsday and all that. I did miss Lois and Jimmy this episode because I've been really enjoying them this season. Obviously, Jimmy's hurt pretty bad.
Yeah, Jimmy got gutted bad, and glad to see him survive. And I'm glad that they're married and they're going to go forward with that with the husband thing. So I'm it's a whole other thing. These are changes in difference in the Smallville universe, and we see it in the comic book universe. Jimmy Olsen's married. So that's a huge thing for Jimmy. Mm-hmm. He never, and Jimmy is Jimmy's almost, Clark. Jimmy is Clark's age in this universe, as opposed to in the DC universe where he's much younger.
Right.
So there's a lot of changes, and it's those differences I like. I really would like to see DC, embrace Smallville and say this is Earth 13 or Earth, not 13. That's probably a bad number, but Earth, 43 or something. I'd like to see them name this as an Earth.
Why? I'm not saying DC. No, wait. I'm not saying that I liked when DC did a Smallville comic, but I don't need it to be. Why does it need to be in continuity? I think we get too caught up in that as fans. Why does that need to be in continuity? I'm not saying that DC shouldn't embrace. I would love to see more Smallville in comic form and that type of thing. To me, ideally, what would be done with Smallville at this point? Take this as its own thing, where they're doing what they're doing with it. This should logically lead to the movies.
Yeah, I'd like to see a Smallville movie.
Yeah, but I mean, where maybe they do another season of it, and that season leads into the next big Superman movie with Tom Welling as the guy, in the cape and the type. He's the Superman guy. Yeah. And do that, and you've got right now a great foundation piece right here where you've developed this. You've got all the prequel material. You can go into just having a great Superman movie without doing his origin because you've got the TV show on DVD for that. So now we can get just a great Superman movie with action and all that. Do the things you couldn't do on the TV show on the big screen. My only thing, I think too often we try to pigeonhole everything into an Earth. I don't know that it needs to be. Why do we need to know that? Smallville's fantastic. I love Smallville. I don't need it to be a part of the DCU.
I don't need it, but I'd like it.
Does Tiny Titans need to be a part of the DC universe?
Oh, God, tell me that wouldn't be funny as all heck, have Tiny Titans being part of the DCU, and you have one character somehow travel there, they're walking around going, what the heck is going on? That would be a funny episode.
You could do that anyway. Why does it need to be a part of the DC universe to do that?
It doesn't have to be.
Right.
And to be honest, it doesn't have. I don't know. For some reason, I just want it. This is just a.
You're not alone.
This is just
I know
it is, and I can't even give a solid argument why. It's just a personal choice. I would like to see it.
I don't want to see I don't necessarily need to see our Superman meet the Tom Welling one.
I don't need to see it. That's why I don't
need it to be an Earth.
I don't need to see it, but I would like to. I really? Oh yeah. I would really like to see Tom Welling walking around and come to this Earth and go, or actually, I'd probably want to see Superman go to that Earth. And you have an episode of Smallville where Clark Kent is going around and going, oh my God, wait, this is different, this is same, and all that, and maybe even something like Chloe or Lana or one of the other, or how cool it would be Pa Kent meets him. And those two just have a moment, have it be early days of Smallville, and Pa Kent meets Clark
I don't
Kent.
want that because that changes the history of Smallville, and I don't want that at all.
Not really, because here's the thing. If you think about it, there was a period where Pa Kent really did encourage, he encouraged Clark to hold back on his powers. But when Clark started stepping up and being a hero, it was when he was playing football, and Pa's like, hey,
agree.
I see what you go through to, not to hurt people, and there's good in you, and you got to do the right thing, and you got to follow your heart, Clark. That's your strength, and all that type of stuff. That would be a cool thing that he see. One of the things that helps him turn around is not only seeing his boy, but seeing Superman. Seeing this guy from this other universe who was his son, who's now this man, and who's respected and admired. I think that would be really cool. And it's.
Do you want the Batman Begins movies then to be their own Earth, or Batman Begins and Dark Knight? I mean, I guess then we do the Burton films and George Reeves. I mean, where do we stop?
See, I don't need, and it's with me. It's just Smallville.
Okay.
It's literally
so you really
just
like
Smallville.
That world to be.
Yeah, and maybe the JLU world, which I think we've seen, it is one of the JLU world is one of the Earths.
Well, I guess you would count that Batman
Beyond world.
Batman Beyond world would be the JLU world.
So we've seen that, and I was glad when I saw that because I liked that one as well.
So I guess technically that would be the JLU world because that seems to be all its own little continuity. I don't know. I guess just for me, I don't feel that's necessary at all. But that's, I mean, you're not, I'm sure, I can guarantee you, you're not alone. And there's a lot of people who are like, what are you, crazy? That'd be awesome. And that's cool. I have no problem with that. It's just kind of my own preferences.
Yeah, it's just,
I think it's a great
taste.
TV show with its own little continuity. I like that this season we're seeing them borrow more and more from the DCU, but they're doing their Smallville thing with it. But like this Legion one, like I said, at the beginning I was really worried, but then when I saw where they were going with it and how this was like the prelude and how Clark influenced all that, they got to the root and the core of it. It was a great Jeff Johns written episode. I'd like to see him write more. You know, I mean, to me is great. I'd like to see them just keep doing that. And the comic, if anybody gets a chance at conventions to pick it up, if you're a diehard Smallville fan, the comic's really good in that it expands upon some of the things within the series. I'd love to see another Smallville comic, but I want it to be more like the old comic was, where it's like expanding on Smallville, kind of like the Heroes comic does. You know, you see those little Heroes issues where they kind of expand upon that world. I'd like to see that again in some capacity, because I think that support piece for Smallville was really cool. But I don't know. I guess to me, more of where my concern with Smallville is less with it being a part of the current DC universe and more it being the natural launching point, if at all possible, to the next movie. Because they're trying so hard to figure out what to do with Superman now. They're talking about making him darker and all this. No, you got a proven formula right here that people like.
Yeah,
its ratings are enough that they're thinking of another season. Yeah. Why not move this to the films? But don't call it Smallville, because it's, call it Superman. But
I would, and if they could get away with it, if everything legally is settled, I would go with a Superboy movie. And maybe.
You know what? With him going to Metropolis at this point, I think
he's already beyond
seen
boy.
Smallville is Superboy.
Right?
We've already seen the Superboy show.
They can do a Superman movie. So it's.
I think at this, I got to be honest with you. If they take it to movies at this point after this, I think at this point you're done with Superboy. You got to move to Superman. I think the show right now, I got to be honest with you, next season the show needs to move more to Superman.
Yeah,
I'm ready for it. I mean, I think this Legion episode is a great example of leading to that. The stuff with Green Arrow they've been doing. I want to see more of this. I mean, they're really doing a great job.
Brightest days, baby.
Oh, I so
want to see Green Lantern in here, and it would make sense for him to be in this universe.
I think we're not going to, because they're doing a Green Lantern movie.
If that happens,
they
keep saying it's go and all that, and until I actually
you don't read any of the stuff to follow what's like David Goyer stuff and things like that. They put a halt right now on the DC movies for a good reason. They're trying to they're taking a look at what Marvel's successes have been, and they're trying to make a game plan. And how true this is, I don't know. You read it on the net, but I guess right now they're looking to really rework their plan for the movies ahead to do more of what Marvel's done success-wise, which makes sense. More link these things together a little bit.
Yeah, well, link them, make them more true to the comic. Don't be afraid to have the people in the costumes. Don't be afraid to have them fighting supervillains. I think if any negative comment I could make about Superman Returns was that fact that he didn't fight any superpowered beings. It was some cool stuff there, and I loved the movie, so I'm not trashing the movie before anybody gets mad at me. But the only negative, he didn't only superhuman feats of strength was the airplane sequence and lifting up that entire island. Now, granted, both really cool stuff.
Under the influence of kryptonite.
Yeah, under the influence of kryptonite. Really cool stuff. No, I couldn't do it myself, but it wasn't fighting, Lex Luthor in a body armor. Or fighting, Darkseid, or one of, his many rogues and many, power beings that he goes up against.
As a fan, I would love to see because I know Singer's next movie was supposed to be like his Empire Strikes Back, which meant he had a plan to do something a little bit more in the second movie. I would love just to be a fly on the wall to see what that treatment might have looked like.
Oh yeah, big time.
Because I liked Returns, but I definitely agree with you in the sense, I don't want to go back to Lex Luthor again.
Yeah, what villain can they
Unless
go
it's
with?
Rosenbaum.
Right.
And they're doing Smallville, and there's somehow... But I mean, I definitely want to see at this point, there's really a rich Superman universe to pull from, and Smallville's shown that you can pull those things into the show and do all that and make it work. So, why not in the films? Whether it's a Smallville film or it's a regular Superman film, pull some of these characters in there. Or I guess, would you be against them making an original villain for the movie?
I am never against the original villains for movies. Granted, I'm sitting here saying it should be more like the comic book, and I'm, spewing all that type of stuff. But on the other side, I don't have, as long as it's a villain that's true to what would be in the comic book.
Sure. I'm not saying that I'm desperately saying it has to be an original villain. There's certainly enough of the Superman rogues you could pull from. And certainly just DC Universe. Why does it have to be a Superman rogue? Why can't you pull from a DC Universe rogue in general? You know, this is supposed to be a shared universe anyway. I don't know what the legalities are that as far as doing it for film, but I mean, I guess I don't want to see another movie where Lex Luthor is the main villain.
Why so serious, Superman?
That'd be a great movie.
I know.
Because he's very, but I agree with your theory that I would love to see with today's technology and special effects a knockdown drag out with a villain who can stand toe to toe with him.
Yeah.
Let's do that again. It's kind of silly, though, then like my mind starts going back to, well, then it would be Kryptonian. Do we go back to Zod and things like that? Does it have to be that? Or, I don't want to, we did Doomsday on the TV show. Do we want to see another Doomsday movie? And we see it animated. I don't really want to see Doomsday again. Brainiac's a possibility.
Yeah, Brainiac's a good one.
Where you could go more traditional comic Brainiac. Kind of what they did in the Brainiac, in the one that we've just seen, where it's more, Cybermen, Borg, like that one was. That was really cool, how Brainiac was sending his little army down to Earth, and we got a little bit more of that concept. That was definitely more of a horror. That would be a darker movie if they were going that route, because that was creepy. It was suitably creepy. So I mean,
yeah, a little creep factor there.
But Superman wasn't. Clark kept... That's my main concern when they talk darker. It's like, just as long as you get Clark right, because you got to get him right. And I thought Clark was really good in Brainiac, so, that would be definitely a route to consider. I don't know. It's interesting to me. Our next review is going to be a Final Crisis number 6. The script is by Grant Morrison, art J.G. Jones, Carlos Pacheco, Doug Mahnke, Marco Rudy, Christian Almay, Jesus Marino, colors by Alex Sinclair and Pete Pantazis. Letterer is Rob Clark Jr., associate editor Adam Schlagman, editor Eddie Berganza, cover by J.G. Jones, sliver cover by Pacheco, Marino, and Sinclair. Okay. What an issue. Answered a ton of questions, left more questions in this ongoing mystery. I was like, what are they doing now?
Dude, there's only one issue left.
Right.
And there's still so much out there that what is going to happen?
They tied up a whole bunch, too, though.
Yeah, that's the funny thing, because they did tie up a bunch of stuff, and they gave you a nice, solid direction where things are going, but there is still so much out there that I'm like, can he do it in one issue? Now, it's going to be a double-sized issue, right?
Not double-sized. I thought they said 7 more pages or 8 more pages. Something like 7 more pages, I thought they said. Same cover price that we've been having. But there's definitely more pages in it for free. But I didn't hear anything about double-sized. I thought it was like 7 pages.
Okay, yeah, I knew there was more pages out there. I didn't know how many more. So I was like, okay. Because, it needs some extra oomph to it because... it's...
Well, some of the things... Obviously, Superman next week is Superman Beyond 3D number 2. And I think some of our questions are going to be definitely summed up there. So that's a huge, I think, piece. Especially, when we start talking about the beginning segment, I think that there were elements of that. And then there was another part later on in the issue that I'm like, okay, clearly there's something that has happened that we haven't seen. Let's jump right into it, because I think some of that we can answer along the way. We open up with events that I'm guessing take place after Superman Beyond 3D, and either before, after, or during Legion of Three Worlds. And I'm not quite sure on that yet, because I'm sure as the Legion of Three Worlds story fleshes out, we'll know. Time travel is involved, and time is also distorted with some of the events that Darkseid has unleashed. So I'm sure, similar to the questions we had about Renee earlier on in this, that some of those time questions will make sense by the end of those series I mentioned. This concept of parallel realities bleeding together is really important for the latter part of the issue, because I'm guessing that was what we saw at the end.
Right, that's my guess too.
Okay. Now imagine your spouse is dying and being told, hey, we got a much more important issue at this stage. Clark really impressed me here. He is under the kind of personal emotional stress, yet this adventure he goes on through the multiverse. He winds up in the future, still manages to multitask, making sure he can return to his wife in the midst of all that, but still he's listening to Brainiac, he's going through, he's handling a ton at an intense scale. Now add this final machine into the mix. It's just really the whole thing as he's going through it, I'm like, wow, how much can this man take?
And I tell you, that was... just the fact that Brainy would trust him and him only with that machine is just a cool moment. I was like, yeah, if you had a device that one stray thought could unleash complete destruction of the universe.
No, alter reality, not destruction. Okay. Alter reality. He never said anything about destruction. changing, altering reality.
Right,
that's the danger of the whole thing.
But that's part of if you alter reality, you're kind of destroying what was there before. So that's,
but you're not destroying
right.
There would still be a universe there.
Right, but it's okay. Yeah, true. Phraseology. Okay.
Yeah.
But
you're right. You're right in the sense that if I altered like something that happened 3 days ago, that could drastically change what's happening today, right now. I agree with you, but it's still there is a reality there.
Yeah, you just think how many times you thought, "Wow, man, what would it be like if I had a different host?" Poof, Sensei Whatnot is gone.
Well, as I told you, I edit you out every episode, so there actually is a different host. You just never met him. This week his name is Gabe.
Oh, okay.
Much of this mystery, I feel, is going to be answered in, like I said, Final Crisis number 7 or Superman Beyond number 2. Was his intensity towards the end of this issue out of what he saw looking into the machine? He looked into the machine now, and that's where the time thing makes me wonder at this point now, did we see him after this? What was going on there? I'm guessing he saw something before he vanished, because his vanishing, I'm guessing, was him being sent back to our time.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm honestly, because that was something I was thinking.
I've got a question there, too.
When I first read this, that's exactly what I thought. And then after like the second or third read-through, the thought did pop in my head, what if this whole front sequence happens after, Crisis ends? After all this stuff, there's like,
Well, it's in the future, so it definitely happens after.
No, but okay. It's a way for Brainy to fix what had happened in the Crisis.
Oh, I don't think that. I don't think that's. You think this is going to be a quick fix thing? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think this is going to stick.
See, that's the one thing I was thinking. What if that's the way they're doing? Like right now, you're reading this.
That would be cheap.
Yeah, but I don't know if could Grant pull this off and make it not a cheesy ending.
I don't think that's what he's doing.
I don't know.
I think we're going to a different planet, dude.
You think they're completely changing up planets?
This is what that whole gambit they were doing is. Why do you think there's all those planets there? I think we're going to. Okay, well, let's just go to it. I think they're going to Earth 1. We're not living on New Earth anymore. We're moving to Earth 1.
Yeah.
Now, I got two different theories on now, and this is speculating, too. So maybe you're right. Maybe this is all some quick fix and all that. And, dude, that's fine with me. My speculation right now is what we see with Renee Montoya is crucial. What we see with Checkmate, what we see with Shade, what this little gambit that's going on right now, I think that's very much a big factor. I think next issue we are going to see how that happens, and we are going to see, because they're trying to do it, a battle with Mandrake, the Dark Monitor. That's where I'm thinking things are going. I think that Superman Beyond stuff is critical to this that we're seeing. And I think that issue 2 is huge. Let's talk about it as we go along. Yeah. We go to the satellite and we see Tattooed Man being an honorary leaguer. It really added a sense of being drafted into wartime here. I like that whole aspect of it. Ray needs to get back to the Earth, and Tattooed Man's circuit. This whole thing played out really well because they wanted to take that back to use it as a weapon, obviously to make sure and protect the remaining forces. But then also, am I guessing, in some hope of bringing back the people that they're already trying to work with, as we saw in the Checkmate Castle and Shade.
Yeah, the circuit blocks it, and I think it will cure people as well. I think if they could figure out a way to draw it on somebody, boom, it'll cure them from the anti-life.
And they use Ray to transmit it.
Ray or maybe Wally and Barry?
Well, I was thinking Ray with his light powers. You've got a transmission source right here. He's able to use different, light rays and things like that. Can he be one of the sources? It might be a combination of things, too.
Or the Mystics. Who knows? I don't know how they're going to do it. Now, the one thing I got to say, just, also going back to, just with the Tattoo Man and Black Canary. We talk about her in the JLA book, how she's this really cool leader, and she stepped up to the role. Once again, we're seeing this really awesome, cool leader. And I'm not even saying female leader. She is just a leader to me. I would follow her in a heartbeat. This is there's a lot of types of authority that you have. There's the authority given to you based on your position, and then there's the authority you earn. She has both. She is the JLA chairperson, but she earns that respect. And you see that right there with Tattoo Man. She makes him an honorary legionnaire. Honorary leaguer.
That'd be cool. Hey, I want to make you part of another team. That's not really a compliment. You know what? I like you so much. I'm going to make you part of the Outsiders. That's not a compliment.
You know what I meant? I caught myself as I was slipping out. I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to get, okay, where's the bus? I'm going to go underneath it. But no.
You're part of the Titans.
But seriously, by making him an honorary leaguer, it's, one, it gives him hope. Two, it's like, I see something in you. And three, this is like, you're part of us now. You're not alone. Before it was always him versus the Capes. Well, now he is part of that team. And it's also a cool thing because he said, he's like, this power I have, it's a gift. And she's like, it is what you make it. Right. And she's giving him that opening to say, are you going to be a hero? Are you going to be
Do you really think she's looking beyond this event, though, with that? No. She's looking at the middle of wartime. I need to draft you into this. That's where it worked for me on a completely... Now, I have no problem if he actually becomes part of the league. I think that's great. But I think you're taking it farther than... I mean, to me, it was... This is a wartime move. I am here right now. I need to draft every available meta into the league. This guy's here. You right now are somebody I need. You are an honorary leaguer. You need to follow me right now, soldier. I think she did that to keep him in line and to coordinate whatever resistance she could in the face of what was coming, which just added more to the... Because she had nobody... Who else did she have there with her?
Yeah. And I'll give you, there's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B there. I agree with you. Part of that was a controlling tool to control him, but part of it was
not controlling. I mean, in the sense of her recognizing. Right. I agree with your commentary. She's recognizing his value. I totally agree with you on that. But at this point in time, this is wartime. This is the end of everything. She saw her husband. She saw Black Lightning. Everybody has been either taken over by the anti-life equation, or they got in a Justifier helmet plopped on their head. So at this point in time, you are going to grab people from wherever you can. She was drafting him.
But here's the thing. With the wrong personality, a draft doesn't work. We saw that with draft dodgers during the Vietnam War. If they don't want to be a part of it, they're going to leave. She made it so she gave him the opening, and then when he stepped up for it, that's when she said it.
It's based on his actions that we've already seen that she drafted him at this point. She's already seen the actions that have led to the point where she's like, okay, this guy's on our team right now. I need him. I think she would have drafted anybody who was there that was available.
I don't think she would have called them honorary leaguers, though. I think that's something for him.
I'm telling you, I disagree with you because they're in the middle of a war. And I think that's a way of saying, you're part of my team right now, you need to do that. She didn't say you're a full-blown, full-fledged Justice Leaguer. She said you're an honorary leaguer. The key word there is honorary. She didn't make him on the team.
See, I think there's some people she wouldn't have done that for. There's some certain villains that she wouldn't say. She would tell them, hey, we got to work together.
And that I actually do agree with you.
Because of who he is and what the characters, that's why she
saw something in him.
That's why she
agree with you. She saw something in him.
She personalized it for him is what I'm saying.
And I agree with you on that. I absolutely agree with you on that. She did. You're right. That wouldn't have been like if Lex Luthor was standing there, she wouldn't have said you're an honorary leaguer.
Exactly.
She probably just said you're a temporary leaguer for right now, and the second we're done, you're off.
That would have been, that would have been okay, we got to work together on this.
Right.
This is for Earth. This isn't about you. This isn't about me.
Right.
And
I definitely agree that there is a trust level with Tattooed Man that she wouldn't have given Luthor or Savannah if they were there. I agree with you. The Ray, I want to talk about that too. I really liked the moments where you could tell how terrifying the situation was, and he was like, I should get out of here. I could get out of here. Because he was probably the only one at that moment that really could leave fast. And he was saying, I can't leave you here, I can't. And I liked the fact that behind him were civilians and children. And he was sitting there saying to himself, I can't leave you. I can't. And the desperation in his voice, where you could tell he was torn at that moment, really, to me, it added more. He felt more like a hero to me because of the reality of that situation, because you saw the terror in his face, yet he was still making that decision. It was Canary that made him leave. He wouldn't leave.
Oh, definitely. That would be a decision that haunts you for the rest of your life. Even if everyone gets out of that alive, which I think they will, that's something that would just torment you. Because the fact that you left them behind. And yes, you were ordered to do it. Yes, you had to do it. Yes, you had the circuit that could possibly...
Well, we saw them survive in this issue, dude.
Right. I know we saw, yeah. But it's still, that's something that, will haunt Ray. The decision that because yes, he was ordered, but it ultimately was his decision to leave that station, and it hurt. And I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying
her rationale and her reasoning was saying you've got to take care of all the people on the planet. He was leaving there with the symbol that the tattooed man has on him.
Yeah, and
so he was really leaving for the greater good.
Yeah, but it's like in the back of his mind, he will be tormented by that. That's like, it's
nobody died, so no, he won't.
I think even though it's the possibility of it, you think about it, this is a hero whose main goal in life is to save lives, and by his action, he did put people in jeopardy.
So a soldier who's following orders that leaves his squad to follow that order, and all of a sudden finds out that his squad is still alive, is going to be tormented by that. Now, if everybody there's a huge difference to this to me. If everybody got wiped out on the satellite, I would 100% agree with you. By the fact that they didn't, I don't see what he's got to be tormented about. Nothing happened because there's no responsibility on him for what happened.
Different type of case with when you're talking soldier and hero.
I'm still talking about forget the hero part, dude. Yeah. Everyone was fine.
But they did face this threat.
And they're fine.
But here's the thing. Okay, hold on, Sean.
Okay.
You're telling me that you and your wife are driving somewhere and you go off, in your car one way, she goes off the way, she gets in an accident but is fine. You're not going to feel bad that you weren't driving the car.
Did she tell me to leave to take a symbol that's going to save billions of people off of a Wait, dude. Now, first of all, you're saying she got into an accident. You are changing the story here.
No, they
didn't get into an accident.
They got into a fight.
They won.
But hold on, I got an accident. I got an accident. I'm fine. It's still the event happens.
Who got hurt?
An event happens.
Who got hurt here? What part of an accident is there here?
But hold on, who got hurt in my accident?
Your car is damaged.
Their satellite's damaged.
Their satellite was damaged before that.
I think you can have an accident.
Your car is a lot different than a Dude, you are trying to compare two different.
I'm trying to put this more realistic. I'm trying to make this more realistic on a scale we can comprehend.
Dude, the whole world's being taken over by an evil god, and you're trying to make it realistic. It's not realistic.
It's real to me, damn it! It's still real to me, man.
It's not the same thing.
No, but that's what I'm saying, though. That's where I see it coming from.
You're talking about an isolated person who got into a car crash, not a hill. If my wife was in a bus being driven by somebody else and the bus got into a bus accident while I was off saving the world, would I feel responsible for that? No. If everybody walked off the bus and they're all fine, I would be very sorry that my wife got into that accident. Her getting into a personal car accident is a lot different. This is more like a bus getting hit than than the example that you're giving.
I don't know.
It is. It's entirely like that. This satellite is out of the civilians there, whose satellite is it? Nobody's. He's not even a member of the JLA. So your comparison is like, that's not... In this case, now I totally 100% agree with you if somebody died. Nobody died here. Nobody. All the civilians are fine. The kids are fine. They won. Because of the fact that the tattooed man took advantage of the situation with his little, symbol and all that, Canary was able to kick off the gravity. Honestly, he would be more disappointed in himself if he hadn't have left, and that symbol that he's got couldn't have done the good that it's more than likely going to do in issue 7. Then he would feel responsible for staying there on the satellite when he should have followed her orders and gone and done what he was told to do by his leader.
I agree and disagree with you.
Okay,
and this is one of those things where we're going to go around the bend.
Yeah, and we'll keep going.
And I do agree on some of the points you're making about how the fact that it is his job to do that. So there wouldn't be, but I still think
you're talking about a small pocket of people.
Yeah, I still think he would feel some guilt over the fact that he did. He would, and he'll be able to justify it. It's one of those things where he'll be able
guilt
to justify it. He'll be able to justify
what the guilt would be for.
I think there would be guilt
for what?
Just the fact that he couldn't. He wasn't there for them.
They didn't need him,
but
they won.
I don't know. It's
they didn't need him. They had Oracle, and she was cool in the fight too.
But I don't. This is one we're not going to agree on.
Because they had the armory, and they did. She actually was 100%, and I liked the moment where he was going to stay, and he offered to stay. He didn't run off on his own. There's a huge difference between that. He was ordered to get out immediately. She gave him a direct order to do it because they needed the information that he had down there. If he had stayed, he would have been totally in the wrong. Again, totally, if the satellite was wiped out, it would have been a completely different situation. The girl fight.
Yeah.
We go from this to the continuing girl fight. Although Desaad is hardly a girl.
Well, he's getting in touch with his feminine side.
Really, yeah. And it's twisted. Morrison does a great job of giving us a solid JSA moment with Rick and Jesse looking out for each other, which brings Wildcat into the screen. At least try to get them back in the game. I liked those moments.
You gotta love heroes who can just crack the little jokes and do the little, hey, how you doing, honey? Oh, okay, dear. In the middle of this epic
he's like, get into
battle.
the game. Yeah. Wildcat's a general. I love it.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, call Kara a slut, and you deserve a bus thrown on you. The funny bit is we see Desaad Marvel in his deviant outfit, and Kara has this funny moment of irony about the comment. Like, you're calling me a slut?
Look what you're wearing.
What's up with you? I did like Adam's connection with his gods playing into hearing Desaad. Again, further verification that's actually who's in there. Adam is a very driven character, so he is not giving up here, and it made for a cool moment. Tell me you didn't know what Freddy was going to do. When he said, I've got a little bit more magic in me, I totally knew. I mean, that was like laid out for me. I'm like, oh, dude's going to go fly over there and do his thing.
Yeah.
It's great.
It was one of those things where you saw it coming, but when it's happened, I still put down the book, said, woohoo!
I really like Talkie's moments here. Calabac is Darkseid's son, and yeah, he's in a constructed body, so could easily return later. But at this moment, Talkie needs to take him out of the battle, even if it means his own death. There's this weird honor in this moment. Because you've got Calabac's warriors watching this one. It's a one-on-one battle, and they're watching from the sidelines. I really, if they jumped in now, Talkie would have been toast. Because he really was barely holding his own with Calabac. And actually, Calabac, my opinion is Calabac overtook him, except for one moment, which we'll talk about when we get to it in the issue. Calabac would have beaten Talkie and would have killed him.
And here's the thing. I actually was very stunned. I enjoyed this so much, just because I had him, I was like, okay, see you, Tiger. Yeah, nice knowing you. Well, actually, I don't know him, but, I had all my money on Calabac on this fight, and I was glad.
I was totally in Talkie's corner.
I was glad to see it didn't go the way it was going to go, and I liked how it went. You're talking just about this warrior code between the two of them. We really I was like, okay, I'm like, at first, when the first fight started, I'm like, okay, he's going down, but he's going down swinging. I'm like, cool, he's going down a hero. And I was like, yeah, I'm liking this. All right. And then as the fight progresses, I'm like, wow, hey.
Now, here's a real problem. Okay, it's one thing when your threat is a superpowered hero or villains under some mind control, the anti-life thing and all that. What happens when it's an overwhelming number of civilians acting as Darkseid? Because they're saying, I am Darkseid. Darkseid is controlling them. So that added a whole little twist into the whole thing. You see Kara's reaction to it, which was very real. Mary overtakes Kara because of it, actually. Uses the distraction to her advantage. And Darkseid looks like he's about to take... Did you see that with Desaad? There was one of the anti-life guys was standing over Desaad with a club.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird because... the classic way to beat Superman, everyone says, oh, kryptonite magic. No, the classic way is to injure the innocents. And that was the cool thing, like from his game, where if you destroy the city enough, that's how the character dies. Mm-hmm. And, Kara is a super, she is, she's got the big red S on her chest. So that is a great tool to use against her. Use the civilians. Use the innocent people against her. And I ate that up. I was like, hey.
And I think it works now. When she first started, and that's one of the things I like about her rich character development, at this point in time, Kara would definitely
care about that stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Freddy does the Shazam trick on Desaad, knowing he would be vulnerable if it didn't work because he's clearly putting everything into this because it was the last of his magic he was talking about at that point. He knew he was spent. Now, I did take it that Talkie was on his last legs here. I don't know if you read it the same way.
Oh, definitely.
If the lightning hadn't struck there, he would have been dead. But he took advantage of the distraction to lash out at Calabac in the last desperate move. If he failed, he would have been dead. And I also assume that, Talkie was thinking he was dying here anyway. Because Calabac's people would take him out regardless of how the battle ended. He was assuming he was a done issue. He just wanted to go out fighting and hopefully helping on some level those that would survive by taking out Calabac. So that was the power of that moment here for me.
Yeah, as I said, he was thinking he's going down a hero, and I really ate that up. When it first happened and he first won, I was like, oh, okay, part of me was a little bit, because, then as I'm reading it, then when I reread it again, I just saw, like you said, he was on his last legs. He was a desperation move. I'm like, you know what? That's a cool thing. And then he sits there, he does the James Bond straightening up his tie, right. Saying, okay.
He's the gentleman.
Who's next? And it's just, I was like, yeah, all right.
No, he wasn't saying who's next. He was saying, if you boys need to take me out, because he said they recognize him with the sense of honor in battle, but he right here was straightening his tie over this appalling issue, assuming that he was going to die, that they were going to take him out, like, come and get me. And I like the fact that he referenced it as appalling, that this was really outside of his character and outside of his MO, outside of what he would normally want to do. This was not something he was proud of by any stretch. It was something that he had to do in the moment. That was very, very important to me, that dialogue. If they didn't have that, I probably would be feeling very differently about those whole events.
Yeah, and of course it is cool how the Tigers follow the strongest. It's the way that it's the pack mentality. It's the pride mentality. Yeah. You look to your strongest warrior. You look to that's your leader. That's who you follow.
When Calabac asked for help, they called him on it.
Right. He
was showing weakness.
Yeah.
Right. So it was really cool. Now, here's the issue. Calabac, are you reading that Calabac could easily come back at some point because he's one of these gods, right? We've seen here that they could be put into another body. So Calabac, I don't think we're going to see him in this series again, but I would have zero issue with seeing Calabac pop up, 6 months from now in Justice League or something like that because of the nature of
the new gods.
Yeah.
So yeah,
because it's already been established that these
of the fifth world, there's a little bit different rules now.
Right. Now, the bullet we're going to have to discuss later in the issue, though, because I'm a little confused now, yeah. Now, the Mary bits were important to me. With all this time distortion, it adds weight that Eclipse and at some point Desaad were controlling Mary. Because when you think about it, why couldn't Desaad have been in two places?
Yeah, that's the thing. Can they be in two different places? Can they divide their energies?
Time distortion, dude. We're talking about where, no, they aren't actually physically really in two places. It's the time's wonky.
Right, yeah, I don't know.
I'm not saying that now, and I want to clarify that. I'm not saying Desaad was controlling two individuals. I'm saying that Desaad was fully in one and fully in the other at the same time. I still say, very much it was established. It's the countdown thing for me, and actually, this is what Morrison did here. In a small way, he didn't have to do this, but he fixed a lot of the wonky contradictions that were in there as being time distortions. That certain events could have been happening at the same time, and certain events happened in different ways because of that, and a writer doesn't have to do this. He could have moved on to this story, and they could have just said, okay, it was a contradiction, let's move on. Instead, he put in this little thing that it fit into what he was doing anyway with Darkseid, where it does make sense that Mary was, at a certain point, Mary became controlled by Darkseid, and we could have seen that in Countdown.
Yeah, very easily. That could have been the Countdown Mary, or the Eclipso Influence Mary, or both, or some combination in between that we haven't seen yet. So who knows?
Where it really worked for me, though, forgetting all that stuff, okay? Because for a lot of people that left a bitter taste in the mouth. Okay, let's forget all that. During the magic shift, we see Mary is fine, normal human, but doesn't want to be Mary Marvel anymore because of the atrocities that had been committed when she was in there. Which, again, I think that's where Countdown to me adds even more weight, because she went through she did all these atrocities in Countdown. Now, all of a sudden, she's done them here with Desaad controlling her. Now, I'm guessing what happens is because she becomes a different entity, that Desaad's still in there?
Maybe Desaad is in Black Mary. Maybe he's not. Maybe the lightning.
Do you think he was exorcised by that?
I initially read it that he was exorcised, and he's not in there.
I'd be fine with that.
But then, as her lines where she's like, "I can't say the word again. I'll never say it again. I'll never," and she never wants to become Mary Marvel again. I'm thinking that maybe Desaad is in there,
or if not Desaad, Eclipso still.
Yeah, one of them. Because
the Eclipso
there's some darkness in her,
right? And issues of JSA. I'm guessing we're going to see in this Black Adam sequence Mary Marvel. So we're not done yet. with this. But what I liked here was Freddy comforting her, reassuring her, adding to her personal strength, and I want to see more of this. This is the part where we're starting to get back to the core root of who these people are. I need this at this point with the Marvel family, because we haven't, they've done these revamps with like Freddy, and we haven't seen him.
Yeah, and we don't know where Billy is, what's going on with Billy or any of that stuff.
So this is stuff that I really, at this point, I want to start seeing. Where are these characters? I have a funny feeling we're not going to see Billy in this. I don't know what your feeling is.
No, because they even mentioned which Billy was here, he would know what to do.
Right. So there's something going on with Billy, but...
And here's what I'm wondering, is the JSA story arc that's about to come up, the Black Adam, occurred before Final Crisis. And maybe this is where we see... Maybe this is where we see what happens to Billy. I don't know. Or was Billy in the Reign in Hell? Yeah, we saw Billy at the Reign in Hell. Mm-hmm. So maybe something in Reign in Hell happens. I don't know.
I don't know. It's an interesting dilemma. I don't know where Billy is at this point, so I would like to know that eventually. It's not really a major concern. Actually, I was more concerned at this point with Mary, seeing as she'd become such a focal point, and I was glad to see the vindication that it's not Mary doing this. I needed that at this point. That it's when she's in the other form, she's being controlled, that Mary is still a good person. Mary is still the person that we all know and love, and she's terrified because of who she is. She's terrified of the horror of becoming the monster that's on the other side. It really is like a twisted version of the Hulk.
Yeah, true.
Where she's fully aware, in this case, she's fully aware of the atrocities that are going on the other side. And it really is like the Hulk, you always get this feeling that it's a misunderstood beast. In this case, there's no misunderstanding. There is a twisted devil inside of her. Whether you call it Eclipso, whether it's Desaad, whether it's both, I would like more exploration of this, because this is a woman who needs to be redeemed and vindicated of the crimes that she's not responsible for. Because she's not responsible for these things, for how I read this. Is that how do you think Mary's responsible for this?
No, now I don't.
Yeah.
During Countdown, I was convinced that it was a turning of Mary, not a mind control of Mary. They're explaining this as if it was a complete mind control of Mary. So
you even took the Eclipso bits when it was Eclipso's power that was controlling her?
I kind of took it. It wasn't a...
Did you read the Eclipso Mini to understand the power of Eclipso and how it corrupts?
Yeah, I know, and but it's still the... See, it's hard to...
I think she's been corrupted all along.
I don't think she was... when I first read Countdown, I took it as there was an influence, and there was thing, and Mary could have fought it. But she kind of embraced the power, and it was kind of like the slow turn, the slow acceptance. You draw a line in the sand saying, I won't do this, and you cross it. I won't do that. And it's...
and even our conversations back when we had Countdown, that's kind of different than we were saying.
I kept jumping back and forth. And that was one of some of the big conversations we had, because part of me saw and then I was like, no, so there was, I don't know. I do go a lot of different ways when it's Mary. And on one hand, I was thinking, it is Calypso.
I hope this is exactly what it is.
I think this is what they're saying. This is what the story is.
Yeah.
I don't think,
regardless of what came before, this sequence right now is probably the best Mary sequence that I've seen since this whole mess with her started. Being able to see her outside of there, where she was like, I don't even want to change back again. We got to see her, and then seeing her and Freddy later. I might as well just talk about that right now. We get that one panel with her, Freddy, and Supergirl, where the two of them, their powers are spent. Actually, more so, Freddy's powers are spent. Mary doesn't want to change. The two of them are choosing to stand up, even though they are powerless at this point. I'm talking about without actually being able to turn into and call on the power of the gods at this point. The two of them are willing to stand there with Supergirl and against this... It was a very powerful, compelling moment with the two of them for me that I needed to see. It gets to the core root again of who these characters are, and I think Marvel fans, I'm one of them. I read the whole Powers of Shazam series. I'm not as familiar with their Fawcett stuff. But, I mean, Power Shazam, that came out a long time ago. So I grew up watching the TV series and all that. I'm a big, old-school Marvel fan. And to see them finally getting some vindication in the pages of a DC comic, I needed this. I really needed it. I need more of it. I'm not done yet. I want more Marvels, and I want to see more vindication like this. I want to see these characters. Because, I mean, they did this revamp of Trials of Shazam. Let's do something with Freddy. I'm glad to see that he's going to be in Robinson's, Justice League, because these are characters right now. If you're going to do a 12-issue series where you're going to revamp this character, do something. I've got nothing against revamps. If you're going to take a concept and revamp it and rework it, but they did it with Billy, they've done it with Freddy, and they just haven't done much with it. So it's like, make me a believer. If you're going to do these revamps, all I want to do is believe in them now, like, 'cause you've got a plan for these characters. We don't see Billy right now. I'm fine if they explain why, but I want that. Let's see where Billy is and what's going on. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I want to see, Mary, obviously. Adam was dead on, because he's one angry dude.
Yeah.
And, he couldn't connect with his gods. He's, making that connection with the Sod. So Adam was dead on. It's the other two that I want to see a little bit more. The direction where they're heading and is great. Keep it going. I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying seeing Checkmate in any capacity. It's a great series. To see the castle be a focal point here makes perfect sense. To show the power of those numbers, the people climbing the wall, they were scaling each other to get up there. They were building like their own pyramid.
Yes, on top of the bodies, and it's one of those things. Whenever they do like a zombie movie, and it's why would you be afraid of the slow moving kind of? Well, this is why. Sheer quantity of numbers. You have no wall or anything that will hold them out of this never-ending force of flesh coming at you. Yeah. Same deal here. I
wasn't thinking zombie movie. That is a great comparison. Terrific is great here. I like how he analyzes this, looking for a way to resolve the problem. Shiloh has that symbol, which tells him it's the symbol of freedom from restriction, from the New Gods alphabet. I liked that kind of connection to his history with the New Gods being brought into all this. It's a protection against the equation. Checkmate has this endgame planned if all hope gives out and the heroes fail. And I think this endgame is, we've been seeing it slowly developed. I think it's the reason we've seen Renee Montoya in here. I think this endgame is where this is going. That's myself. That's my personal speculation at this point. Oh, yeah. And it's, Rick, Liberty Bell, Wildcat, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, it just... talking about the end game, and it's when all heroes have lost, and then they go to that great full page panel where they show the Furies have arrived. The second wave has arrived, and it is the Meta Furies, and it's Wonder Woman, it's Giganta, Batwoman, and Catwoman, and you see them just tearing into the JSA and the remaining heroes, and it's nothing to knock the heroes. It's they're up against these massive, powerful beings, and I loved how they did that.
These massive, powerful beings that were not just going through the battles remember. They've gone through multiple waves of battles at this stage.
Oh, yeah, and it's a wear-down process. And then after you deal with this high volume of things, then you get these super powerful beings. Yeah, you're going to take your licks. And I liked how they did it where it was just that whole panel spread out, just artwork. They didn't have lengthy dialogue or anything, but you could see just from beautiful artwork how painful and how nasty and how much the battle had just turned.
And they weren't alone. You mentioned the Furies. The Furies weren't alone. And we get to see Wildcat's son taken down. We see Wildcat taken down. We see Rick. Was he shot by Batwoman? You saw the double guns pointing right at him, and he went down.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that worked out. My guess is, though, that they all wanted them to become Justifiers. I would think, right?
Yeah, either submit or die.
Right. I'd like to read a mini about the Super Young team. I don't know where you're at on that, but seeing this sequence with them that was running below it, Sonny Sumo, we learned, is not the original. He came from a lateral universe, which that lateral universe thing is making me wonder. When you were talking about before ways to deal with some of this, I'm wondering if that lateral universe thing isn't going to play into this quite a bit.
Yeah, and it was funny because when I read that with the Super Young team, I was just like, huh? Where is this coming from? Why are they having this in here? And it was one of those things where I had to sit back and just reread it a couple of times, see what they're talking about. And the main fuel that I was getting from it, the main thing I was getting from it was, you need to hold on to that hope. It's like, I never told so-and-so I love them. I never told this. Like, oh yeah, you'll tell them when we're done. You'll tell them when we survive.
But also, did you notice that members of the Super Young team, like the Lantern who loved Aquazon, she loved the guy he was confiding in.
Right.
So it wasn't even, it wasn't like even going to be a sweet ending if they had revealed it. So it's just as well that they didn't. I liked that. But I also liked that we got to kind of see when they were first introduced, they were kind of this next, hip generation that were very media-oriented and that, that type of thing.
They were a little cocky. They were a little bit, flashy.
But had never actually been in battle, which they reveal here. And they even see, hey, our powers are, we're more cosmetic and outward in our presentation here. But Shiloh tries to get to the root of what they can do. The escape artist is looking for any opening he can get out of any of them because he needs to know what tools are at his disposal. I liked the escape artist, this is, what do I have here to pull from? What do I have here to work with? Because I'm already got a formulated plan. I'm going to get out of this. Like, Shiloh's never say die attitude here works for me so well. I really like him.
What are my assets? What are my liabilities? What do I have to deal with to take the situation
Because I'm going to find that opening.
Yeah.
I'm going to find it. And I like that. There's moments in this that I really get hope where it's small little segments where I really need it. Superbat's power. I am the greatest miracle of all, Mr. Miracle. I'm so rich I can do anything. The moments with Canary and Ollie and crew were just plain awesome. I knew Tattooed Man's tattoo would react against the helmet. I was glad to see the veteran Dinah kick off when the gravity went off, and you got to see, it was Oracle was in the background fighting as well.
Yeah, there's some cool artwork. You look in the back. Look in the background on that panel. You see people throwing down, and because they showed earlier, what's her name? I'm drawing blanks.
Oh, the two wives of the Flashes.
The two wives of the Flashes. They were both armed and ready to rock. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Joan and Iris. No.
Joan and Linda.
Joan and Linda, right. Iris is with Barry and them, right.
I drew a blank. And
right. And
the kids. Yeah, and the kids. So I was glad to see, that type of stuff going on with the fighting. And that is a cool trick, with killing the gravity. It won't stop them, but it'll slow them down and give you the fighting chance.
Right.
And that's what they need.
And they aren't coherent enough to
they don't have complete free will
right.
to be able to react. It's an improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Right. Because she knew that it was coming. And it really was a great way to increase her chances.
Yeah, plus you think about it, like with Barbara, no gravity gives her an advantage.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's used to, she's confined, with her movability. Well, now they all are. So now it's the striking and the block and parry and stuff.
Now they're all in her situation.
Right.
So she's got the edge.
Yeah. So, I like that.
It was a brilliant move.
Cool.
It was a brilliant move, yeah. Do you think she can wake Ollie from this? The Justifier helmet's off. Do you think it's possible? Because we saw
Barry did it with Iris.
But was it Barry's powers that did it, or was it their
I think we're going to find out. I think this is where we're going to find out.
What is your? I mean, obviously it's speculation at this point. My personal opinion is I would geek out if she could. So I'm leaning towards. I know, and it's more. There's that part of me that's like she can't, but there's that other part of me. It's the heart part of me that's like I like these two so much. I want to see her beat it out of them. I don't know. Where are you at? Do you think it's possible? Or do you think it's going to have to be Tattooed Man's tattoo doing it? Or that's also a possibility too for me. Because they're up there with the guy who's got the symbol on his head.
Right. And I don't know if he can transfer tattoos or what he can do with his powers.
What happens if they put it on him?
Yeah, so I was thinking, are they going to draw it on him? If they draw it on him, will it free him? Part of me wants to see the scene where they're fighting, they're locked, and she just goes and plants a big old kiss on him.
Right.
And
I want to see him come clean that way. Well,
here plants a big kiss. Someone's just about to put the Justifier helmet on it, and he stops, and then bam, and Ollie's back. Yeah. That's the sequence I want to see.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case though, because I took it as they won.
No, I don't think.
I took it as Dinah and crew won because of the gravity switch.
Well, I take it that the fight's not over yet. I think in issue 7 we'll see the fight continue.
I agree, but I think that this evened the odds enough that they could win.
Yeah, they got a shot now. They got a fighting chance, but it's not over. It ain't over till the fat lady sings. So, yeah,
but I'm still taking it as at this point that they won. I want to see at this point though. I think it's going to be more Tattooed Man though, because he made reference to his tattoo during the battle.
Right.
That was the reason why. So why they wouldn't use that and why that's not a red herring.
No, but I still want to see it though.
I'm with you. We're totally 100% in agreement on that. The search for Ray Palmer stuff pays off here for anybody that read that. He journeyed through the multiverse, so between himself and Ryan, they would be able to come up with elements of the Black Gambit. And I liked how that, it plays kind of nicely into that.
And it uses their scientific, uses who they are. And I chuckled because you see in Ryan saying, I need a new name. This is kind of silly. And that fits, Ryan's personality. It's, as we said, we're in the middle of a massive crisis. Ryan would make a little funny comment like that. That fits who he is.
Because he's in Ray's shadow in his eyes? Yeah. The Spectre reference made me agree with you that this occurs after Revelations. When we talked about Revelations, you had said that that was taking place during the 30 days. And when she comments about the updated dossier, it's clear that those events we're going to see play out, and they're prior to this. So that's kind of, it was an interesting point. Miss Martian's still suffering from the events of the Dark Side clubs. I thought that was kind of a cool little reference. Now, that one room, Jim, they're dissecting metas, right? For the purpose of learning about them? There's nothing going on in here, and you see they're chopping her up and pureeing her, right?
Yeah, they're breaking her down, trying to figure out what makes her tick. And that was a definite mad scientist lab there.
Yeah. Where they aren't doing nice things. It goes to show that this group that Renee's getting hooked up with will literally be a little shady in the way it operates. Morality is going to come into question here. Do you think the Earth they will try to inhabit is... What do you think? Do you think they're going to go to another Earth?
Well, when they first started talking about the final gambit of going to another Earth, first one that popped in my head, of course, was 51. The perfect Earth.
I thought about
that's
that
been
too.
Destroyed twice now, and we saw
which would fit Nix being there,
right? And that's why I'm like, that's the first thing that popped in my head. Right. And I'm thinking now, or then I was thinking, okay, they go there, but they don't actually. Part of me thinks they're going to be able to save this Earth. They're going to be able to save their Earth and win in the end. Even though this is when evil wins, part of me still holds on to the fact that they're going to be able to save it. And maybe it's when they go to that other Earth that they get something to use to win. I don't know.
I think this Earth is so destroyed at this point that they're going to another planet.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think they're bringing the planets here to swap one out.
What if they swap out and they put all the bad elements on the other planet and, 51 gets destroyed again?
But I think there's no accident that Nix is here. That's why part of me thought 51 was going to be the Earth that they swapped to for just the reason you said. I'm glad you mentioned that. Because I don't think it's an accident that he's there with Metron and that he's bringing in this whole new thing. I don't know. He would be then the monitor of this Earth.
Yeah.
So that'd be an interesting twist. But Earth 1 is still the one that I know it came up prior to this that Earth 1 has not been shown yet. So what if it's Earth 1? That was a possibility. I'm speculating. I have no idea. So it's interesting. I'm of the mind though that I think they're leaving the planet. I really think they're doing that.
You know what? It would be a definite way to get away from this now.
But also to have a planet waiting. See, I guess part of the reason, 51, how damaged was 51? It's desolate, isn't it?
Well, no. It was just completely destroyed by that virus, which finally burnt itself out.
So the planet itself could be fully functional with businesses and stores and...
Yeah. It would need a massive cleanup.
Right.
But I think it's still... There's probably still structures, there's probably still buildings, there's probably still everything there.
More cleanup than this Earth needs with all the dark side and submit stuff all over the place.
I think unless it's a fixer-upper.
Yeah.
You got to flip the house sometimes. You got to flip this Earth. They're going to send out Ty Bennington.
Our Earth right now is
they're going to send out all those other guys. And
our Earth in my eyes is condemned.
Yeah.
Can't go inside. They're going to board it up. We need a new home. I don't know. And then the final machine, going back to what you said, there is that part of me that thinks, can Clark use the final machine in some way to wipe this clean? But then there's a danger in that. See, that to me almost seems too easy. Like there's too much.
Yeah, as I said, it's something that popped in my head, but I'm not sure they would do that. Just like this moving to another Earth, then I'm like, no, maybe they won't need to go to that other Earth. They'll be able to win here. Because in a way, yes, I agree with going to a new Earth. You completely your Earth is destroyed. Hey, let's go to this other one. But it's also kind of like quitting and running away from your problems and saying, so would you want to see
but
the heroes
it depends.
do
Hold on. First of all, it's not just the heroes doing that. They have the whole civilian population to think about at this point. So what would be the best move to do for the civilians? It's not quitting and running away. It's, at first, your first order of business is to save lives. That's not to say that they're going to leave this planet and just shove it off. I think something's going to desperately happen. There's going to be some kind of final battle, but you got to save the civilian population. You're a big proponent of that. So that's not running away and quitting. That's taking care of business first. Because right now their big problem is they've got all these people running around under Darkseid's control. What if we clear out that control, get them off the planet, then we can, deal a final battle. Except it seems right now that Darkseid's been dealt with, which we'll have to talk about that. Because we're not done yet. okay, a very well-written Lex Luthor can be really impressive. Egos come into play here. You are a huge Luthor fan. This sequence you had to have adored.
Dude, man, I was chomping at the bit, and I was hearing the Luthor voices from from the jail. It just so felt like Lex, and I was just like, yes, I love this.
Villains have a code too. I mean, they can. And they go to a variety of different extremes. In this case, you see that there is a limit to what a Dr. Savannah and a Luthor will stand for. And they'll ally themselves with people who they consider morally depraved compared to them. But these are thinking men, learned men who their goals. They have very real goals, and they have very real.
Yeah, I found it interesting because they're watching Calculator, hang for multiple days, hanging and slowly dying. But when Savannah was made to watch his own daughter submit to the anti-life equation, it's like, okay, you just crossed the line.
Right.
That's it. And he and Luthor hate each other, but they recognize they need to work with each other. And as I said, I ate up that impressed me, Savannah. Just that. It so felt like Lex. This was just a well-written character. He was playing it the whole time, just waiting for his opening. He couldn't power up his armor. They wouldn't let him. Well, they finally let him power up his armor. The second that's it, like, okay, it's on now. I have my opening. I have to do the strike.
Take it to another level. Calculator was going to die there forever.
Yeah.
Libra said he would be in that state of perpetual dying.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about how twisted that is as an example. Clearly as an example. That's the only way I took that. Did you read Final Crisis Secret Files?
I didn't get it.
Oh, you didn't get the Secret Files issue?
I ordered it, but it wasn't in my...
Wow. Better double check and make sure that it was in your box. Final Crisis Secret Files, I won't spoil it. The reason why I'm mentioning it right here, it actually tells Libra's origin. It goes back to the original JLA story that he was in and explains how he's here and what that is. I'm not going to say anything else because you haven't read it. And I'm throwing it out there just for anybody who missed it and wondered what that issue is. Because people are on a budget. And there's actually a great forum thread about this particular issue where people were talking about what things do you need to read. And the Secret Files is definitely an issue for people.
That was a Faces of Evil issue, right?
No, it was Final Crisis Secret Files. Okay. Just Final Crisis Secret Files.
I think I did read that because I do remember reading the Libra origin and reading thing. I thought it was a Secret Files issue.
It is a Secret Files issue.
I thought it was a Faces of Evil issue.
No, yeah, I don't know if it came out with two covers. I have the Sliver cover with Wonder Woman, so I'm guessing there's probably a second cover that I'm showing you. I just handed you the issue because I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I read that and I got that. I in my head, I was thinking that was Faces of Evil.
I think it's interesting to mention these things every so often to talk about like what you should read or why you should read it. The Secret Files issue is for anybody who wants to know who Libra is and how Libra fits into all this. That gives a lot of background and depth to Libra and puts him right to the point he was at when he started in Final Crisis the JLA issue.
The sightings issue. And there are even scenes from that sightings issue, so it was kind of nice to definitely, fleshed everything out, cool explanation as to how he got this, how he got in service of Darkseid. Yeah, this was a really cool issue.
Just to go through real quick the different tie-ins to talk about how, at least what we understand so far and how they fit into this whole thing. Revelations, I agree with you, is the missing 30 days. It focuses on the question, the specter. It focuses on the whole, it's basically a focus on religion because you've got one kind of gods here in the New Gods, but how does that affect, people of the Catholic faith, the Christian faith? And that's where the Spectre and Mercy, who are clearly from that kind of realm, would fit into all this. So it was interesting to see that kind of exploration. That's what's going on there. It does flesh out, though, when there was that 30-day span where there was no Final Crisis issue. That story is taking place, in my eyes, and Jim, you really convinced me of that, completely during that span. And there's been nothing in the issues that has contradicted that so far. It totally kind of fits into there. It was, when there was no issue out, that was my linchpin that kept me in the story, because there was no issue. I needed something to keep me going, and it was showing us what was happening to the humans and the heroes who had been hit by this anti-life equation. So I really needed that issue. The artwork is gorgeous.
Oh, big time gorgeous artwork.
But that's what it's for. So for people who are interested, should I pick that up? Should I have? Is it something that I want to check out at this point? That's for you. And I think going through this, the point is, what things should you focus on? What is interesting to you? So hopefully that'll give you a decision on whether or not, I need that or I don't. We're all on budgets.
Just like the resist and submit were more of that in that lag period. It was the beginning of the anti-life equation. It was showing people dealing with it, resisting and submitting, and it was it was more fleshing out of the Final Crisis story arc.
Resist is clearly the one where we learn about checkmate.
Yeah.
That's the checkmate issue. Tattooed Man comes into the resist and submit whole thing as well. Was that submit, Tattooed Man? Yeah,
yes,
because that's the one with Black Lightning, where Black Lightning submits.
Yeah.
So submit involves Black Lightning and the Tattooed Man. So if you want to see that fleshed out story in there, those are pretty essential reads if you want to know about that. Superman Beyond deals with Superman traveling through the multiverse. He meets Mandrock, the Dark Monitor. Issue 2 hasn't come out yet, and there are questions in here that are clearly going to be answered in Superman Beyond number 2 next week. Legion of Three Worlds, that's one right now I've got a big question mark on how it fits into all this, but I think we saw with Brainiac 5 in the beginning of this one with Superman, we saw elements of it either takes place during that, or that takes place in many ways after this. I don't know, because the Legion's been talking about how there's this thing that they need to do. I'm wondering if that ties into...
Yeah, the whole thing with the Lightning Saga, why they got the Divining Rod, why they have, whatever they have in there, if they have Bard in there, if they have the Speed Force, if they have the whatnot in there. I don't know. There's something in the Divining Rod, and that's going to play it out. And part of me, I don't know, part of me thinks that's the way to do the whitewash. I don't want to see the whitewash, and I don't want anyone to think that Jim's saying that this is what I want to see, but that is an option out there.
I don't see Grant doing a whitewash. I really don't.
I don't see it either. But that if we're talking, we got to say that is an option out there. And if it happened on paper, I would say, oh, I don't like that. But I would actually have to wait to read it to see how the whitewash is explained. Maybe it could be this is the way it should have been done all the time. I don't know.
Now, are you sold that that's where it's going, or are you just thinking it's a possibility?
No, I think it's just a possibility.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sold at all on it, and I'm not even saying I want to see that.
Okay.
It's just an option out there.
I don't.
And, yeah.
And I don't think that's what it's going to be, but I agree with you that it's a possibility. So, I mean, we're in agreement. Actually, one of the things I like right now is that there's a lot of possibilities on where this could go. I like the mystery of it. I don't want to know.
And there's only one issue left. That's the thing that gets to me. I'm like, wow.
But see, to me, I would be disappointed if I knew the ending right now. I don't want to know the ending. I want to see it. I want to experience it. You know what I mean? So that's fine with me. I don't need to know the ending right now. I think we very much nailed down one of the possibilities is somewhere in our discussions that we've discussed here.
Yeah, it's an option
out there. On some level, it's in there. So it's interesting. Rogue's Revenge. The Rogue's Revenge mini is for Flash fans. It explains what happens to the Rogues for not joining Lieber's group. And that's what that one's really all about for people who want to read that one. Is there anything I'm leaving out of the miniseries? I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought it was an interesting point to talk about this. It came up on the forum. One of the threads was saying that there's certain things that are essential reading and certain things that aren't. And I agree with that. I think that, certain of these stories flesh out. I've enjoyed them all, but I think, definitely there's ones that are key for Flash fans. There's one that's key for Black Lightning fans. There's one that's, key for, depending on what you're reading right now, what you're enjoying. I will also say that Revelations, if you're a fan of Batwoman and Huntress and characters like that, there's a lot of explanation on them in there. Vandal Savage is a big player in Revelations. So these are characters that if you're interested in these characters, you need to pick up their book.
And when we're talking mercy, we're not talking the mercy that,
yes.
This is the, how the Spectre is the vengeance of God. Well, mercy, this is the mercy of God. Mm-hmm. So this is another celestial type superpowered being.
Not Luther's bodyguard.
It's not Luther's bodyguard, because there was another comment on the forum about that.
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that. Good catch. Now, Calculator, like we said, was going to be left there to die forever. Mad Hatter's tech was turned against Libra, and Luther zaps him. Although from the cape dropping a la Obi-Wan in Star Wars, methinks he will return more powerful than we could ever imagine. Oh, yeah. And I like that Luther and Savannah acknowledged that. That was great.
Hey, read your history books. Evil is not often that easily defeated.
Right.
He's coming back.
Wonder how Luther controlling those with the anti-life's going to work out. Because that's going to play into this somehow.
Yeah, now, is that a frying pan fire type thing for the world?
You know what, though? He's very pro. Luther believes, when he was president, I got to say this, Luther does believe he's doing what's best for humanity. He's skewed in such a, level, but in this case, Obviously,
I know.
Obviously, he was helping the heroes because he thought it was the right thing to do, not only for himself as well. He doesn't want this to stick, so I do guarantee whatever he's going to do is going to be for the purpose. He would free humans. If anything he could do to free the humans, empower the humans, he will use them too as a weapon.
Yeah, so that's what I'm wondering. Does he go, the heroes are now really weakened? I wonder.
I don't think he would do that,
No,
because this would be a horrible time to do that.
I don't think that at all. And
Right.
I don't want anyone thinking I'm thinking it. Though I do think in the back of Luther's mind, he's thinking like, hey, this is my way to become legitimate again. This is my way to run LexCorp again. I am the guy who saved humanity. It wasn't the superpower beings. It was Lex Luthor who saved you. See, that is something Luther's definitely thinking.
I don't know if it'll go that route, but I like that.
You know?
We talk about a PR stunt.
Come on.
Now that carries as a possibility. That would be an interesting.
Hey, let's just pull from Ghostbusters.
Right.
If we're wrong, no, fine. But if we're right, you'll be saving the lives of millions of registered voters.
Now, New Krypton. Do you take it that it takes place after this or before it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's so many, like a lot of the story arcs. Like I don't know when they take place.
Right.
You know, it's.
Well, and they said that we're going to start finding. They are going to tell that in the pages of the individual books. You know where it fits, and I don't necessarily need it to be every one the same month. Because they explained already that the Green Lanterns aren't going to be till summer that we actually see them come in linked with this. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and
Don't derail your storylines for this. Just tell me where it fits in. That's good enough for me.
Now, we kind of know Nightwing and Robin are taking place right, after maybe or before. There's
Well, you're talking about the Nightwing and Robin R.I.P. issues.
Right.
R.I.P.
taken
takes place.
Right.
Well, the Nightwing and Robin ones took place after Bruce vanished.
Right. So, yeah, it's...
The R.I.P. crossovers from Nightwing and Robin. So I'm guessing those already took place in a world after this that we're going to be seeing in Battle for the Cowl.
Yeah, see, it's it's got to be after.
Although it could be concurrent.
Yeah.
They could be concurrent to a certain extent. Well, yeah.
Yeah, concurrent. This all happens before the anti-life equations launched.
Because Nightwing and Robin, those issues, those story arcs were clearly after R.I.P. was done.
And R.I.P. was before, Final Crisis, which we saw the tie-in.
Yeah.
And that one little flash there where we know where it happened. So, yeah, it's
interesting. I think we know enough that it takes place after, leading into Battle for the Cowl. It makes your head hurt trying to figure all this out.
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's where, in continuity, as long as I can plug things in, that's fine. I don't need every single issue for, this takes place at this point after Final Crisis. I think the titles that are relevant to Final Crisis, like, I clearly want to know where Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman take place in regards to all this, and we're going to find that out. That's really clear. Green Lantern, because the Green Lantern core is so heavily in part of this, I definitely want to see that. Nightwing and Robin don't play much into this at all.
Yeah, we're not seeing them a lot.
So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I mean, in the sense that we haven't seen them as major players in this, so it's enough for me to assume that their books take place after this. So for all we know, they have helmets on their heads right now. I don't think so, but Barry Allen knows what to do to stop Darkseid, and I'm curious as to what his plan is, because we haven't really seen that 100% laid out here. Maybe you got more of a vibe on it than I did. Do you think the Black Racer's going to play in this? Is it about bringing back the new gods? I was glad that the Black Flash reference was thrown in here, tying him in with the Black Racer, and that Wally's already outraced him once. I like that, because it does bring in a history of the Flashes outrunning death. And that was a moment that I really liked. I like the distinction, too, because Jay has been traditionally, because of his age, he's been the slower of the two, and that was established in the Flash books years ago. He's incredibly fast as far as by Earth standards go, hero standards go, as compared to the speed-type heroes. But Barry and Wally in particular, because of his connection with the Speed Force, are definitely faster. And obviously Barry is, headline speedsters now as well, because of he's became one with the Speed Force.
Yeah, See, I have no idea what they're planning, and also I was thinking they're using somehow the Black Racer against Darkseid, and we're going to see later on in about a minute or so. I'm like, how are they going to? I'm like, and it's so then I'm like, are they going to use it against the anti-life equation? Are they going to just stay Darkseid? Are they actually going to?
Is Darkseid dead?
Yeah, I see.
We're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Darkseid's still around.
Or Batman provided the opening?
Yeah, his essence has been released.
Let's get to that.
Okay.
Because I think
let's jump to that right now.
You and I are ready to talk about this.
Big time.
So they're trying to get to Darkseid with the Black Racer in tow. You and I are in agreement on that. Somehow are they using the Black Racer to reach him was kind of my other question. Are they using him as a conduit?
I think they're using their speed and just the fact that those two together, and can energize it enough, and he's going to follow them wherever they go. So we're going to lead him to where we want him.
Or maybe them bringing them to Darkseid, who's been hit with the God Bullet, will put the Black Racer onto Darkseid, who should die because of the God Bullet.
Right.
Interesting. All right, okay, I was terrified when these next batch of pages kicked off because you could feel it right from the first panel. And I was like, no, because I've been a big one that's been saying all along, I want Bruce to survive, I want him to do this. I was adamant about it. Now, I will clarify, let's just go into it and then I'll clarify what I think is happening here, because it's part of my commentary here. Bruce and Darkseid meet. Bruce breaks his vow by using the God Bullet on Darkseid. And I was glad that we got to see that Old West standoff where Bruce was going through, I'm breaking my cardinal rule here because of this situation. Now, the question comes up, did he kill Darkseid? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But Bruce is hit in the head and the heart with the Omega Sanction. The death that is life. In the last issue of Seven Soldiers, Mr. Miracle miniseries, Shiloh saw all of his friends fall to the anti-life equation, after which Darkseid subjected him to the Omega Sanction, in which he went through a series of oppressive lives, including one which he was still working in the slab. Upon escaping from this trap, I don't want to go too much into that because we'll talk about Seven Soldiers Volume 4, but he did escape all this. Now, Bruce isn't dead.
Dude, Bruce
is being put through a series of oppressive lives, so, he didn't kill Bruce right here. He'll be trapped. Now, the question is, how is Bruce going to escape this trap? I want to read what he goes through, too, though. I think that would be very cool to see those lives that he goes through and what that looks like. And so that's going to be a story. Yeah,
it's got to be, and I hope the guy would get to read it because Bruce ain't dead. And I was sitting there going, oh, wow, at first they just killed off. Then I started thinking about that whole Seven Soldiers thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Shiloh Norman, he was, that Shiloh wasn't really a new god. That was just a regular guy who had access and who had the knowledge and who had the experience and all that type of stuff. Bruce Wayne is Batman, and we've seen him go one-on-one with Darkseid mentally when the whole torture stuff they're going through, and he beat it. Not only did he beat it, he turned its own clone against them.
Right.
So
now
right
you
there,
go through the Omega. I mean, that's
and the thing that really got me thinking about this was the line that Darkseid said, like, no one can outrace the Omega Sanction, and Bruce is like, try me, and it's like I'm like, was that just bravado, or was that Bruce saying, no, I know what you got, I've done my homework, I'm ready for you,
bring it on.
And I was just like, because I'm like, oh my god, no, and it was just like I'm like, he's gotta be. This has gotta be it. This is what they're talking in.
But they didn't kill him.
No, well, he looks dead.
Everyone thinks he's dead. They've got a body. Superman thinks he's dead. All them. They don't know what happened to him.
And the funny thing is, if you think about that teaser image, how you got the arm of the body that's flopped out of the Wayne Enterprise casket, and everyone's like, oh, that's Bruce Wayne's dead body. I'm like, is it his dead body?
Or is he coming out of the casket?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah.
See, these are, as I said, these are all just our speculation and guesstimation. So I don't know, but I'm like, because my first reaction was he was dead,
right?
And it took 2 or 3 read-throughs, especially seeing the cocky attitude. I was like, wait a minute, Bruce knows something I don't know. What? And then you started.
See, I remember Seven Soldiers when he said Omega Sanction. I remember Seven Soldiers. I was like, thank goodness. It was funny when those things were going through him. I'm like, thank goodness.
Yeah.
So it was funny when that issue hit. I loved the moment because I'm like, Morrison just told us he's not dead.
Yeah.
And he laid it out. So it was a clue. And I like how he did that. It was a clue that said, hey, Bruce is still with us. So that was something Morrison was giving a little nod. He said, you read, you know. He's giving a little high five. I like that. I like that. But he didn't say it straight out. The Black Gambit. I'm taking... Oh, go ahead.
Now, one more quick thing.
Sure.
We're talking about the bullet, the God Killer bullet.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that thing travels back in time, right? Was this
No.
No.
It was fired back in time to kill Orion. It only traveled back in time because it was fired that way.
Okay, now here's
not
the thing.
because it's the radon inside it is what is fatal to them. Bruce didn't fire it back in time.
So that's what I was wondering. Is Bruce the initial firing of the bullet?
No, we saw the initial firing of the bullet.
Okay.
We saw that laid out, yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering, maybe if...
Because remember, we saw Barry racing to try and prevent it, and it didn't happen.
Right, but I'm saying, what if they got another chance at it now? By Bruce doing this, they have another chance.
At the bullet?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I didn't see it that way at all. I took it as... Because the bullet itself, how would Bruce have gotten it if it didn't already hit Orion? He got it from Orion.
Right. He pulled the bullet from the dead body of Orion.
Right.
He even says the JLA had him store it to study it. And he had it in his belt.
So if they stop it, he won't have the bullet to fire to begin with. So you actually contradict it.
True. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm taking it's after the fact.
Okay, yeah.
I'm wondering, though, if because he's been shot now, they're bringing the Black Racer there so that he can take out...
Yeah, he'll take out the essence of Darkseid.
Maybe.
Right now, we have the host body that was Turpin is dead. Maybe. Yeah, we don't know yet. He could still be alive. But I'm thinking Barry and Wally will pull the Black Racer in there. They'll take out the essence of Darkseid, and that will end... Darkseid's reign. We've already seen Darkseid pulling energy from his own minions to make himself stronger.
I want to know what Barry knows and how.
Yeah. And it was interesting because another thing that's just popped in my head, Bruce's opening line to Darkseid was, "You look as bad as I feel." Right. Bruce can tell Darkseid's hurting. Darkseid, this whole process is doing some damage to Darkseid.
Well, if you went back to the, remember the sketchbook, the initial sketchbook, because of the fact that he used Turpin's body was breaking down from everything that was being done to it, being, with all that happened and for the age and all that. Because you can see actually on Darkseid's legs, the leg braces, and he actually looks like the sketchbook's fantastic. If anybody didn't get a chance to pick that up and read it, it's great to take a look and see the notes on why certain designs were done and what they mean. And that was one of them that Morrison and J.G. Jones, the notes that they had in there were that they wanted him drawn in such a way where these leg braces would show age because of the body, and they were trying to say it at the time without revealing that it was going to be Turpin's body. So it actually is a direct effect of the fact that it was Turpin's body that was broken. I thought that was cool. I thought it was very cool. Now, this is the one I'm wondering about and I'm speculating on the fact that I guess I'm under the impression at this point I'm leaning heavily towards us migrating to a different Earth. That's where I'm... Now, if it doesn't go that way, it's just speculation on my part, so I'm not 100% sold, but I really think that this gambit somehow is played off in that end. I might be wrong, and if I am, we'll see what happens in issue 7. That's cool. But speculating that, I see two possibilities there. Either we go to a different planet, or another planet is swapped and put in the place where ours would be. In this, because you see all those different Earths up there, ours swapped and put into that particular spot. So, because you almost would have to, with all of the stuff going on in the DC universe, have to keep us in the same universe, right?
Yeah, it's got to be...
So you'd have to swap planet for planet.
Right, so they got to take one planet and put it in here, then this and there, and like that.
Right, that's how I'm taking it. But I mean, that's, again, a speculation. You have to make your head hurt trying to figure it out. I want to see how it's read. I did like the Carter-Kendra moments. He hopes the reincarnation for a better life. Because you're in the midst of, this horribly depressing, morbid situation. He's like, hey, if we all die here, I hope we come back together and you love me again. And that moment just pulled from their rich history. Because he wants to still be, there's that moment of him, he wants to be reunited with his love.
And here's the thing, I'm the big proponent of the Red Arrow, Hawkgirl. I'm like, man, I like this, but you know what? That moment right there, I was like, Hawkman, Hawkman and Hawkwoman should be together. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm like, I'm going against what I've been saying for issue after issue after. I'm like, no. Right here, this is one of those things where they should be together.
But more entertaining and interesting right now, the reasons why they're not.
Yeah, but I want to see them together.
I agree. I mean, we're on the same page.
I'm now in the camp, I want to see them together.
But I like the reasons why they're not, too. So it's an interesting little character. You and I are totally in sync here right now. It's one of the great things about it. We both love Red Arrow and Hawkgirl, but it's moments like this that we see why she has dreams of him. I mean, it really...
They have that connection.
But to me, it's far more interesting that they're not together at the moment because it leads to these weird little moments where you're like, well, I'm loving her with Roy, but... It's that but that always fits in there that works really well. And that to me is where these characters become real. and three-dimensional, where you sit there and go, and you think of them in ways outside of, they're not just flat on the page where like, oh, they should be together, and here's why. You've got to really think about it, and I like that. How can they face a greater menace than the guy who already did in their world?
Yeah, I'm like...
And it's got to be this Mondrak, right?
It's got to be the Dark Monitor.
Because we haven't seen enough from him to...
And the whole bleed, crumbling, and that's why you see all those Earths up there, and that's what the other thing I was thinking is, what if this is another combination fusing, instead of, ending, are they ending the multiverse? I'm like, which I hope they don't do, because I love the multiverse, so could that be the
fifth
issue?
world being one world?
Being one world, yeah.
See, I don't. To me,
I don't want
one
that.
of the things. People.
I love the multiverse.
I do too, and I like the confusion of the multiverse, just in the sense that it opens up the possibility for people to do wacky stories. Where you can cross over people. I don't want every book to have multiverse stories every time you turn around, but I think it opens up storytelling options for writers to be able to pull in characters that in their old MO, and it offers rational explanations to nonsense. It really does. Which is part of the magic. It separates the DCU, I think, from other universes. And I like that separation because then it's fun to read the other universes because they've got a different flavor. So, it's fun to read Wildstorm because even though Wildstorm's technically one of the multiverse worlds, there's a definitely different flavor in a Wildstorm book than you read in a DC Universe book. Marvel. It's great to read Marvel books because Marvel's got their own flavor. I like the distinctions. I think, for fans that are reading a whole bunch of books, you get a different flavor. Wonder Woman infecting the heroes? Wow. With that disease carrying on and them. I'm curious how that's going to be resolved because they're dying.
Yeah, and they're destroying the Earth as well. They're killing everything.
Mm-hmm. Lantern Ring's power dying out. 19% was the last count. Yet they still press on. Very heroic moments there. I loved that. Again, that we see Freddie and Mary were in there too. So we get to see some great heroic moments. Now, was that Lois and Jimmy with Streaky? Was that Lois holding Streaky?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to see Superman Beyond, obviously, the resolution with her, I'm hoping.
Yeah, and that was the thing I was like, then I was also thinking is maybe that's part of this transition into the other world. The other world has Lois, has Streaky, has Jimmy, and that wasn't...
But they were calling him...
Well, I'm thinking that's another Earth who's going through the crisis. Say, for example, they're going to Earth 1. Mm-hmm. And Earth 1 isn't an uninhabited planet. So you're on Earth 1, and you see the sky turn red, and you see all this craziness going on.
I got to be honest with you. I'm more leaning towards the more we talked about Earth 51, because there were in my notes I had two possibilities. It was Earth 1 or Earth 51. At the start of our conversation, I was leaning more towards Earth 1. As you started talking about how you noticed Earth 51, I'm thinking the uninhabited Earth makes a whole bunch more sense.
Hold on a second. It's just a thought, as I'm talking, thought popped in my head.
Okay.
Because we're trying to figure out where Robin and Nightwing fit in. Mm-hmm. What if the Robin and Nightwing stories we are currently reading are on Earth 1? So that's why there's no Batman in there. There's no mention of...
Oh, that's because he died in Final Crisis, dude. I think.
But no, okay, Final Crisis killed Batman. Well, it didn't kill him, but it made the appearance of in R.I.P. But Earth 1 is where... they're dealing with it. That's why
after this event you're talking about, we've already got a new world established.
Yeah, those are already in the new world. Those are already on Earth 1. So maybe that's part of the story questioning what's going on. And maybe
part of my thinking is the Robin, and because of the fact we saw in Last Rites, Batman come back to the Batcave and jump right into Final Crisis. Part of my thinking is what was going on in Robin and Nightwing was happening concurrent with Final Crisis. And then when the wave hit, either that happens after those story arcs or before those story arcs. I don't know. It all depends on how this is resolved. I think I made a mistake even trying to fit those in right now because I don't think you can really fit anything in until you see the ending of this. I think the ending of this will make it real easy to fit in anything. You'll know if it happened before or after this because until we know what happens with our Earth and how that's resolved, is it the magic wand thing like you said? Is it that they're traveling to another world? How does that work? I don't know that. I actually want to go back and say, let's scratch all my thoughts on trying to even fit any of those books in. I think it's a mistake to fit in any current monthly title until you see the ending of this. Then I think it'll be quite clear whether or not it could even fit in during this or if we have to see an issue that explains where they fit in. So, I was jumping the gun, I think, a bit by even doing that. Because right now we're trying to even figure out how this is going to be resolved. Nightwing and Robin clearly couldn't have been going on totally concurrent with this because we would have seen people being possessed.
So I don't know.
Clearly,
we got to figure out what we got to wait to the ending.
Nightwing and Robin for me was clearly post R.I.P. Bruce is out of action leading up to this, so I will find out with all that. I shouldn't have tried to fit into this at all. But Nix and Metron are talking about the build to the fifth world, and Nix's world is a possibility because of this. I got to agree with you. He was the guy with the Rubik's Cube, though, Metron.
Yeah, that was
I was
cool.
glad to see the verification. What do you think about Metron's new look?
I like it.
Yeah.
Well,
like
I'm cool with the revamp.
I am too.
Yeah. New world, new look. Yeah.
Well, but it's clearly still Metron, and I don't. I like that. Look up in the sky. Still geeks me out. It's Wonder Woman saying it. Now Clark is angry, and I'm wondering, is it because of what he saw in the final machine? Is it? I mean, it's clearly he knows about Bruce, right?
Yeah, and
because he was flying in there angry because of Bruce.
He
right?
tore things up, and then he goes in there. He pulls out Bruce. Is it because his friend's dead? Is it because he knows what's going on? That's why I'm wondering if that sequence is him arriving, but it's not after the Brainiac sequence. The Brainiac sequence is after all of this.
I'm wondering. See, my opinion is that when he was disappearing there,
he was coming back. Yeah, maybe.
To this. And that's kind of how I'm reading it. But I don't,
And here's the thing.
We know what we're going to find out this week when we read Superman Beyond number 2.
Yeah, and I know. We'll find out then. And as I said, my first thought when I read it was what you're saying. Then I started thinking more. Could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be that? I have a lot of could it be's that, Superman Beyond 2 will answer for. So that's cool.
What did you think of this issue?
Dude, it's... as I say, with every issue of Final Crisis, I always say the same thing. Wow, that was an amazing issue. I still have a lot of questions, and they answered a lot of questions. Yeah. How the heck are they going to finish it?
Well, the importance for me is the fact that they answered so many questions as they go along. I think if it had been constant question with no resolution to anything, I would be really angry right now. But what really works for me is I really feel like as the story goes, I get a better grasp of what's going on. I feel like I'm more a part of the story, and the mystery of it is keeping me going. There is a mystery here, and I like that we can kind of speculate and come up with possibilities, but there's that part of me that's like, okay, I think I've got it all laid out, but they might totally swerve me. And I'm just curious to see how that works out. Batman's death, though, I was so glad to see that he's not dead.
Yeah, I don't think he's dead, man. Yeah.
Again, Bruce just keeps on. He's like the Energizer Bunny.
You filthy criminals.
Hey everybody, I want to explain a little bit what we did here. Jim and I recorded episode 148, which is a little bit of a smaller episode with our Final Crisis and Smallville episode that you just listened to. We're also recorded back-to-back with this a full-blown Raging Oscars episode, which went on longer than we thought it was going to, because what we did this time was we did the DC Universe like we did last year, but we also did a smaller section on Wildstorm and a section on Vertigo as well, and we also did a section on some things that fell outside of both of those lines that we thought were interesting that we wanted to note, like Johnny DC, for example. And there was something from CMX that I wanted to tap my hat to. This is report card week for me and my birthday week, and because of that, anybody who's been listening to the show knows report card week for me usually means a little bit of a delay for the episode. We try to be proactive and make sure we do have an episode for you, which we will have for next Sunday. So we're going to stay right on schedule and have 2 weekly episodes for you. So that explains the lineup change, just to make sure that you had 2 episodes coming. We may midweek release and kind of an unedited listener voicemail episode. We've got a lot of voicemails out there that we'd love to chat about. If we don't get to that midweek, they will be on the Raging Oscars episode next week, and it all depends if Jim and I are able to get together and record midway through the week to do something a little smaller like that. Please check the website and the forum for more details on that. I can't guarantee anything because this week is absolutely crazy for me, but I'd like to do that because I want to get your thoughts on the show sooner if possible. But if not, for sure they will be on next week's show. I want to thank the New York Comic Con for sponsoring us. Remind everybody that's February 6th through the 8th, 2009. There's a handy link on RagingBullets.com if you want to click on that. Check out the constantly growing guest list. It's going to be a wonderful event. We're going to be there all weekend in the podcast arena. Whether you're a listener, creator, anybody who's going to be there, please stop by our table. Get on the show. We'd love to hear from you. It's going to be a fun definitely a fun gathering, as always. Want to thank our sponsors also, DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. DC Library, Roots of the Swamp Thing hardcovers at a special discount, regularly $39.99, 50% off only $19.99. Green Lantern Chronicles trade paperback volume 1, special discount on that one, $14.99, 50% off only $7.49. Don't forget our In-Stock Trades book of the month from Mike Sims, Flash Rogues, regularly $14.99, 47% off only $7.94. Don't want to forget about the Absolute Batman Long Halloween, which we're going to be doing on the show quite soon, regularly $75. 37% off, only $47.25. You can also get the trade paperback if you prefer to go that route. $19.95, 37% off, only $12.57. InStockTrades.com offers free shipping on orders of $50 or more and has a ton of collected editions in stock and ready to ship. Thanks for supporting us, DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. I also want to do a quick little thank you to all of you guys. This is actually, I'm recording this right now at 1 in the morning. I'm trying to get an episode out, and it's actually my birthday. I was looking on Facebook and on the forums, and I haven't had a chance to respond to any of these, but you guys were kind enough to do some birthday wishes, and thanks so much. I really appreciate that. Especially, I was surprised to see it, and I can't thank you enough for it. We will see you next week.
Bye.